Great, thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. Yeah, I'm going to speak on the more the entrepreneur perspective and and kind of some experience share on a couple of different kind of polar opposite, but both software companies and some of the challenges and opportunities in scaling them that I've seen and kind of where we are now. Um, so just background, I've been a career tech nerd, computer scientist and been in Jacksonville for about 14 years now. Live out at the beach. I love the area and been trying to support it in any way possible. Running meetup group and trying to highlight everybody here that's doing anything interesting in tech. Just so the whole rising tide theme. My first startup is about, I don't like to do the math on it, but 24 years ago, I guess. Left Accenture and did a first startup. So it was fun to start up. It was a big boom, .com boom. Everybody's tech and web and free-flowing money and everything's great. So raised me and some buddies, had an idea, raised $4 million, build this marketing tech startup. It's what everybody was doing. So I left Accenture and did that. And the key at the time was we have this money. Let's build product, get revenue, get customers. Forget about profit. It's just you raise more money when you reach that next milestone. And unfortunately, that graph there shows the actual larger market at the time. Huge boom, huge bust. So when it came time, we did all those first parts. We had a great product and revenue and customers, great team. Obviously, no profit at all. We're burning money. Comes time to raise the next round. There's no more money. There's no Series A's happening. Everything dried up. So first lesson in the venture path is timing. Timing is everything. Timing can get you, and you can't exactly control that, but you can try to plan for it with more discipline and just understanding the market a little more closely. So that was my first kind of leap was the funded in the middle of the hugest funding boom that had happened in a while. So then after that, skipping ahead, few startups of varying degrees of success in between. There are the two kind of parallel companies I'm running now. I'm kind of a parallel entrepreneur, kind of serial, but parallel because I'm running two at the same time that are separate companies, started for different reasons. And they're both software. So I've been trying to scale them. So SourceFuse is one. It's tech services. We do application development, cloud development. We're AWS partners, a lot of custom solutions, and run large teams to do outsourced software. The other inventory source now called FlexPoint, it's SaaS, it's software as a service, subscription, specifically in the e-commerce space, integration, middleware, inventory and order management, fulfillment. I had built expertise kind of in both, and these were kind of natural ways, things to start, and what have been growing for the last 8 to 10 plus years. So starting with, they're two opposite business models, so I kind of go into the scaling and funding challenges I've had with each one, especially here in Jacksonville. So FlexPoint, vendor management software, very specifically focused in the e-commerce domain and fulfillment related technology and automation. So with that, initially bootstrapped. So this graph goes back even before a few years at this very low level, and that's the problem with bootstrap. So I kind of had been burned on the venture funding given the wrong market timing before. Check, I'll just do it myself, and then you trade off on no funding is very, very slow growth. So I mean, you're profitable, you're in control of your own destiny, but you miss opportunities. You can't move quickly. You can't get out of that revenue leading expenses kind of model. That was where I was stuck at the time, and actually raised a seed round for both companies the same year in 2018. So you can see obviously it changed things from a revenue perspective for the years, and we're continuing that growth rate and more so. So it made a big difference being able to do it. And at that time, I went around Jacksonville. Probably 2017, starting that process and trying to find early stage software funding, and there just wasn't any. There's not any here. You can get, capital finance projects, or you could find in the area, but specifically software early stage didn't exist here, and I think it's existing more. And it's great to see this event because I think it needs it and needs more of it. So I actually had to go outside of Jacksonville to get it, and raised a small round, but that kicked off everything of able to focus and grow and scale, just having some capital outside of the revenue you're making. So specifically SaaS, software product-focused scaling is a little different, little functional areas of ownership. We started initially, everybody, except for our offshore team, everybody was here in Jacksonville. COVID changed that. Now we have people somewhat distributed, still mostly in Jacksonville at our office out on the beach. And really kind of building in functional areas of ownership to scale headcount-wise. And that funding allowed us to fill some of those roles in advance of having revenue to do it. So it's an important part of the scale and growth and what was needed. So what are we doing now? So we're looking towards the next funding event of some sort. We're not ready yet. I've tested the market, experience. The more I've learned about this process, it's what we have to do to scale to a point where we are ready for that next stage of funding. So it's all about focus. We've identified our ICP, our ideal customer profile, broken it down into data points of what that type of customer is, and score all of our leads and customers against it. Because SaaS product is all about retention. We got to build that recurring revenue that creates our value, and that lets us raise money at that nice multiple that you see some of the SaaS companies doing. So that's every sales and marketing focus, and our entire product and features are all around what we've identified based on our data. Who's our ideal customer? What do they need? That's everything we're doing is focusing on that, which will put us at a point to do a larger growth round of funding, probably in a year or so. So let's get into the other company, SourceFuse. So we're a global team, about 560 people now, just over that globally, largely in India, several in Jacksonville, and spread all over the U.S. now as well, since COVID hiring locally became less important. And we run product teams and work in the cloud. So similar story here. You can see what the bootstrap path looks like. Some success and growth, but not a lot. Not a lot of upward movement in those trends until you inject some funding. So this same year, kind of was getting frustrated with the lack of being able to move quicker and get out ahead of it. So we took funding in 2018. You can see again the growth rate we've had since, because it allowed us to focus, hire in advance of what we needed, build out our marketing in advance of having the revenue to support it, and really see the results of it, and continuing even more so this year. So it really set the stage, just being able to get that funding. And the same story here, couldn't find it locally, wish it was available locally. And I'm glad to see there's more of it, but so we had to go external to get it. So scaling the services side is very headcount driven. This was just the past, I guess that was 21 to into 22. So in that time period, more than double our headcount. Like I said, we're about 560 people now. And so, it's trying to manage that scale. It's a focus on structures, creating centers of excellence, and standardizing what we do, because it's all very people driven, very, very kind of custom in nature of what the end result is, but how we do it and making that the same is kind of our secret sauce that we're trying to build value, again, to raise that next round. So where's our scale focus now? It's really about our delivery systems. It's specifically hierarchy structure, rolling up under delivery managers, creating specific centers of excellence around things like DevOps, things like UI UX, things that are shared across every tech need, and then getting kind of more hierarchical on how we deliver it to clients, but standardizing how we measure it and looking at the right metrics, and streamlining just how we do it in the knowledge base, and how our glowing global team of disconnected people, we can build upon that with each other. And I think we're approaching that point as well, where we'll be looking for a round of growth funding. We've explored the market a little bit. Having learned about the funding stages, we got to reach certain levels, I think, of revenue, EBITDA, and everything of what we've kind of been signaled from the market. So we're trying to get there and create the most value possible to then do another funding round to scale again. So main learnings from the process, really the ways you start kind of matter. I think, friends and family money, as we just saw, is kind of a popular way, and it's the best way to get some level of product market fit. But bootstrapping for too long, you miss some opportunities. I feel like I saw that in the market. So funding is an important part of the process. Just doing it at the right time is the tricky part. Finding that, doing something up front to find fit, to validate it, increases your chance of actually getting funding and then of actually being successful after the fact. So that whole seed and some level of venture or seed, typically it's seed early on, and I like to see that's kind of where we are now, and getting more of that in Jacksonville is get off the ground. And what I'm looking at next is more of a growth funding round. So seeing the value of being able to take what you've created and capitalize on that for the future. And in all of that, I think the main lesson is financial discipline. So I wouldn't say we were undisciplined way back in that first startup long ago, but we did have a lot. We had a lot of money we had to put to work. So we hired a bigger team. So you create this big beast to feed. And then if the market or industry changes and you can't unwind that, then you're out of business. So, and having come out of a bootstrapped environment, investors were more willing to fund us because they've seen our financial discipline when you've forced yourself to operate so frugally. So there's a fine balance on it, but I think I think that's a big thing that of both investors are looking for, and a big key to your success is financial discipline. People-wise, the kind of one thing that resonates that I've been through several layers of this whole kind of concept of 3s and 10s. I think I heard that somewhere, and I like it. It's kind of how you think about what you do to manage your company and how you're doing it internally from people-wise. So if it's just you as an entrepreneur doing something, and then all of a sudden you're 3 people with partners, you're going to have to operate a little differently than that. Now, if you were just 3, now you're going to 10 people, and you have teams, and you've hired managers and everything. Now you're 10. Your internal systems and metrics and how you communicate with people and how you work is going to change. And when you get to 30, similar kind of change from 10 to 30. You really have to rethink your organizational processes. And then obviously at 100, being that next point, rethink that again. What worked at 30 doesn't work at 100, and so on. So having been through several of those, I really think that resonated with a scaling kind of perspective and how to think about the company itself. And then, of course, the data is kind of underlying to everything. So whether it's to raise the money or even just to operate your company profitably, getting control of your data and the systems and applying that data to the systems and processes, how you're measuring it, what you look at is what grows. So kind of getting all that figured out and continuously kind of adapting it is what I think has let us kind of cross that threshold of being profitable and growing and kind of looking ahead to that next funding round where others might have lost track of it. So that's kind of my personal story on it and my takeaways from it. I know I'm standing between everyone and lunch, but hopefully that was interesting, but I'd love to hear any questions.
A lot of good actionable intelligence there. There's a question. Where's the other microphone guy? I'll just bring mine back there. Oh, there we go. Right in the camera shot.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about tech meetups. Have you done any of those, and are they successful?
Yeah, I started the Jax Tech meetup probably about 7 years ago here. I do them about quarterly. I used to go to all the meetups before that, and there were a lot more. They seem to have kind of fizzled away, but that kind of inspired me after going to in other cities like New York Tech and DC Tech and seeing these others kind of followed that format. Theirs are startup pitch focused, a lot of them in other cities. We just don't have that many startups here. So really Jax Tech was trying to feature, there actually is a lot of interesting companies headquartered here and innovation going on here. So my goal was to try and highlight that in this Jax Tech. So it's been growing success, especially since this whole COVID shift and a lot of influx into this area and more companies doing more things to highlight. So I continue to run that meetup. We've got our next one. I haven't posted the date yet. It's going to be in May.
What's the name of it?
It's Jax Tech is the name of the meetup group. So that's the main one I'm focused on because I've been trying to come up with content for it for 7 years. But there's others in the area, like specific user group focused ones for the tech communities and kind of others out there. But my focus has really been with Jax Tech as a group to highlight what is going on here. And because we had the last event had the PGA Tour, which is, they're headquartered here and they have a lot of tech going on, which is very interesting. And Availity, another success story in Jacksonville in the healthcare space, but very data centric. So what can they teach all of us as we grow our businesses or our enterprises, trying to figure out how to do the same thing? What can we learn from it? And I think it's been good, and I'm planning to continue doing it.
Thank you.
Got time for one more.
Great.
Oh, I guess lunch is more of a one to draw. So, oh nope, there is one over there. I'm blocked by the screen.
Sorry about that. I'm a bit hidden back here, but I saw on the one slide you mentioned techniques like centers of excellence and others that you've used. Can you share a bit more color on, as you have scaled your businesses, how you make sure that you retain culture, you're finding the right fits, making sure that they have the right skills, but then also that they're going about the work in the ways that you envision?
Yeah, it's a constant challenge, constantly trying to do that. Definitely the culture challenge as you grow has been really challenging, especially, so SourceFuse is a very global team. My co-founder is in India, and that's where a lot of that headcount is. We've done a really good job there because that's where the larger headcount has historically been. It's been challenging to convey that also for the US team and our global team too. So it's a constant challenge to do. Specifically with that one, I try to get people together physically more. So that's like when everybody's met physically, that really changes things, whether they're across the country or on other countries entirely. Just that's one area culturally, getting everybody on the same page. Physical presence really helps with that. So that's been one piece of trying to manage it. With the other one, just really trying to keep everybody in the same doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing well as you grow has been a constant challenge too. So I've read, I don't know if everybody here know the book Traction or the Entrepreneur Operating System. If I was starting something now without any kind of historical, challenges or from scratch, I'd probably follow that. I think it's a good framework for defining positions and making sure the right people are in the right positions and everything else. So it's been a constant challenge, but I think it keeps changing as we scale and getting those centers of excellence. But natural leaders, I feel like, kind of bubble to the top internally when they're challenged. Some people step up and take it, so we try to reward that and keep that process going. So that's